Hi flower friends, my name is Jolene Powell, CFD, FSMD. Today I want to show you how to create a silk headstone arrangement, and I'm going to show you the supplies that we're going to use and take you through the steps on how to actually create the arrangement. Okay, to start off with, we have a 12-inch headstone form or metal form, and these come in galvanized metal, painted metal. I prefer the green painted metal with the protective tips, so it protects the headstone for you. And then I've actually applied a piece of styrofoam onto it using several Dixon pins and a hammer. Some other tools that I'm going to use today: a pair of wire snips and a pair of needle nose pliers, and I'll show you what we're going to do with those. I'm going to have some floral tape, and then a pick machine. Inside the pick machine we have some picks, and I'll just show you what one of those looks like. They're very sharp, and they come in a box, steel picks. I prefer the 2 1/8 inch. They make 3 inch. I think there's maybe 1 3/4 inch. I'm not sure. This is my preferred size. And then we're going to have a variety of flowers. I prefer to use the silk baker. It comes in a bunch of 12 stems, and they're just put together with a little plastic cup. I just take that off and throw that away. By the way, I have a trash can handy here. I like to keep my area clean as I go. So we have some silk baker, and then we have a variety of flowers that we're going to use. The customer today has asked for wisteria, so I have some beautiful wisteria, and he also requested some yellow daffodils. So those are the two main flowers that he requested, but I went ahead and picked out a few other flowers that I thought were complimentary. So we have some yellow daisies, and then another round or main flower. I like the lavender roses. I'll take the sheeting off so you can see that a little bit. And then another yellow filler. Okay, so I think that'll make a nice complement. Some of these I've already cut apart just for time, to save time. When I do things, I like to do things in a oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? A quicker order, assembly line. That's what I was looking for, assembly line. So when it comes to the baker fern, I do all of one step at one time. So I'm going to take all of the baker fern here. Now, the customer normally gets a very large arrangement, and so I would keep all of the length on the stems if he wanted a large arrangement. But this time he is doing it for a friend, wants a different saddle, so he doesn't want quite as big. If I were going to do a miniature saddle, I would take the greenery all the way to the end of the stem, or I might even cut off the lower set of leaves here, so it's a shorter area. But I'm going to leave it on and do the medium size, but take off a good amount of the stem. So with my wire cutters and my trash can beside me, I'll do 2 or 3 stems at one time just to go quicker. So as I'm cutting those, I would love to hear where you guys are from. If you could, in the comments, just text where you're watching from. I'm curious. You know, I'm from Virginia. Tell you a little bit about myself. Let's see here. So the next step, and I'll integrate as I go along. I take the needle nose pliers and I make a little turn. So you can see that. That is so that the pick machine has something to grip. So let me just show you one. And so now the pick is on there. Because it's been folded over, there's more for the pick to grab to. But again, I like to do assembly line, so I'm just gonna turn all of these while I'm talking to you. So I'm from Virginia in county called Rockingham County. I know there's Rockingham, North Carolina, but we're from Rockingham County, Virginia. Born and raised here. I'm married, have 4 beautiful children, and none of them want to be in flowers, but that's okay. They all follow their own passion and dream. I'm actually a retired lieutenant firefighter paramedic for Rockingham County. So once I retired, I decided to open up a flower shop. So I have a nice small little flower shop here in the town of Elkton, Virginia. All right, now that I have those cut and turn, I'm going to pick them all, assembly line. Oops. And you'll notice I have band-aids on my finger. It's just for protection because the steel picks are a little sharp. And every now and then, if I get to pushing too hard, I have run my finger down onto the steel pick while pushing it into the arrangement. Doesn't feel good. So I try to just take a protective measure ahead of time and protect my fingers. So let's see, where was I? Oh, so I'm retired from the fire department. My husband is actually in the fire department, and our oldest child, our son, is in the fire department. All paramedic firefighters. My husband is a division chief, and my son is in the station as a firefighter paramedic. Alright, as I go along here, it just saves so much time when you assembly line and do everything at once versus, you know, snip, curl, pick, stick. It just takes so much time. So doing things in assembly line, you will see that really saves a lot of time. So now that I have them all picked, I actually create my base and how big around that I want the arrangement. So it's 12, so you'll see. You have about 2 inches here. This is a 2-inch styrofoam. So I don't stick it up at the top. I go down to the bottom to leave more insertion room for the rest of the silks. So as we put it in, and you can bend these a little bit to give them a little motion. Things don't come flat in nature, so just give it a little bend, give it a little motion there. So every now and then when you go to stick it in, depending on, which you can probably see, these little green spots was directly below where I was going to insert this leaf. Well, there's a Dixon pin in there, so when I tried to stick the leaf in there, I got resistance, so I had to pull it out and go over a little bit. That's okay. Just make a little room. So I put one on each end and then one directly across from each other. That gives me my width and my length. And then here's where I make a decision. Do I want nice and full greenery on the width of it, or do I just want it light? So because these are a little closer than if I had the stems way out longer, I'm only going to put one in between the middle and top, and you just go around and just kind of put them in at an angle. So you see it fills that up. So we'll go around and fill that up. All 4 of them will be at an angle. And feel free to bend them down and a little bit. So now I have 4 left in that pack of 12. So there's a couple things I can do here. I think I'm going to snip from the bottom section here and separate that. And I'm going to do that with all 4 of them. And let me show you what that does. And normally when I do this, I do that as part of my assembly line. But because I just want to show you every single step as I go along the way, don't forget you're going to have to bend that over so that you have more room to pick. If I was just to pick just the stem, the pick would slide off easier. So because I've doubled it over, it gives a little more grip room to be able to grip this. So pick these 4 really quick. Alright, so the styrofoam is white. I normally buy green styrofoam, but they happen to be out, so I went with white. So because of that, I really need to be a little bit more conscious and cover that. So I'm going to take these 4, and I'm just going to kind of angle and bend down to, we're just trying to make a cover over the white as much as we can. And you'll see I kind of did them at an angle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these were already picked from when I initially did it. So I just go through and try to find some white space to cover so that you don't see all that. There's no rhyme or reason, just whatever works well for you. So this is, you know, it's covered a lot of the white, so I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing I do is I try to use my line flowers or the long flowers to help get more of a how I want the layout, the length of it. So with these wisteria, now just because I have a huge big bush doesn't mean that I have to use the whole bush. I can save some back. This particular bush not only has the wisteria, but it has extra greenery. So that's kind of cool. I like that. So we're gonna cut a couple off here. And these are such good nippers, I can cut 3 at a time. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna cut half the bush for right now, just kind of get an idea of what I want to do. Now, the customer said he wanted the wisteria to come down over the casket, or I'm sorry, the headstone. So he likes the draping effect of the wisteria. So I'm going to have it drape off both the front and the back and down the sides. So it's a standard size headstone. So we get a good idea. Now this is a pretty thick, this is like 2 stems coming into one, so it's pretty thick. So I don't need to double this over. I feel sure that the pick is going to give a good grip on that. Yep, it sure did. So I'm going to come to one end. And you want about the same length on both sides. And this greenery that's attached to it, you can bend it, manipulate it, give it some flow, because if not, they're all going in the same direction. So this way it spreads it out a little bit. Let's do it on this side. It came with two sets of leaves on there. Alright, so now we're gonna, now I'm not gonna come straight down with one in the front. I might do 2, one to each side. And I'm going to shorten this a little bit, even though it's going to hang down. See how it had 2 things of green plus the wisteria? I'm going to have one come down to the left and one to the right. Now this is almost a little too tiny, so I'm going to go ahead and fold that over to get a little more grip. I'll do one on one side and one on the other. And then I think I'm just going to put one in the back in the middle. I like odd numbers. I just think it's more visually pleasing. Now these little extra greens, I'm still going to put those on here. Always use up all the greenery. If you don't and you throw it in the trash, you're just kind of wasting. So this is great filler. And you can spread that around. It doesn't have to be right next to the wisteria. Oops. Alright, as I'm putting some of these in, I need to just kind of start thinking about do I want any wisteria up in the arrangement? And I think I do, because it's nice to have just a cohesive color palette all the way through. So don't be afraid to bring it on up into the arrangement. And some of these greens, we want to have a little depth, so we can start bringing some of this greenery up a little bit. The wisteria naturally hangs, so it's going to be hard to get the wisteria to, oh, come on. It's not going to stick up, so let me show you. Let me put the one wisteria towards the back here, and I will cut another one for kind of up in the middle, just to have that color come through. I'm just going to do one, and I'll show you. You can actually take a long flower and cut it in half or thirds, depending on how much. So go down to where it meets the next stem. And even though it's not long, I mean, you have two pieces now. Even though it's not long, it still provides color in the arrangement. So just put it in two different places. I kind of like to go on opposite corners, but just gives a little bit of more of that color up through the arrangement. So with the ones that I'd already cut off, I'm going to go ahead and put these leaves in the arrangement, because we don't want to waste those. So an assembly line, I'm just getting them all cut to the right size so that I can pick them and put them in the arrangement. Okay, so they're all cut. And these are pretty thick stems, so I don't need to double them over. It's where two stems kind of came to an intersection, so this is a lot of leaves. Okay, finish putting these greens in. Just spread them all over. Get it nice and full. Oops, let's see. Over here. And if you need to lift up some of the greenery that's covering the white foam, it is okay to do that, instead of sticking right into the baker, or some people call it leather leaf. And you can have some kind of hang down underneath. Gives it a little more dimension. Oh, I forgot to put a pick on that one. Okay. Alright, so it's coming along. We're filling it in. And we reserve the right to add a little more later if we want to, but we're not going to get too carried away. We still have a lot of other flowers to put in here. So I think the next thing I want to put in, I like to start with the line flowers, and then I go with the bigger flower and smaller, and then the filler flower. So whatever, there's no rhyme or reason. You don't have to do it my way, but this is just how I do it. So in this bag I pulled out, and there was one of the heads popped off. Now, I don't particularly care for going in and gluing. Some people will glue all of the heads on, and they'll even glue it into the arrangement. I don't particularly care for that. I don't like the glue strings everywhere. You are more than welcome to do it. I will say I've been doing this for years, and my customers keep coming back. I have not had any complaints. Ooh, there's the one that's missing the head. Now, if it's split, I might take the time to glue it. In fact, I will turn my glue gun, not glue pot. I have both. Go ahead and plug in my glue gun, just in case I have, because every now and then I will have one of those that pop up and I need to just put a little dab of glue to secure it, because each flower head, that's money. So if you take what you purchased the bush for and divide it by the number of heads, that's how much it is per flower when you figure up how much you're going to sell the arrangement for. So for every head, if you throw that away, that's lost money. So I'm going to show you a little trick here in a minute. Let me plug this in real quick so it can be warming up. Sorry about that. I should have had this done ahead of time. All right, my glue gun's on. I absolutely love this glue gun. It's Black & Decker, and the base, it has a on-off switch here in the back, and there's a place in the middle to hold extra glue, and then it sits in there and it charges as it goes. I just love this. It's a great tool for me. So, all right, the next one. So I'm gonna take this out of the way, make some space for me. And I just go through and I snip all the heads off. If I know I'm gonna be using them all. Even if I don't use them all, they're already off for the next project. I actually keep a bucket over here of extra stems. If it's just 1 or 2. Now if it's, 5 or 6, if I know I'm gonna leave 5 or 6 on it, I will leave them on the bush and put it back in the silk area. I like to push, see how it has the filler and the leaf way down here? Let me come closer. I like to push those up closer to the head and just have the greenery a little bit up closer. So I do that with all of them. Again, assembly line. Occasionally I get a little carried away and I push too hard and the head will fly off. But that's okay. Pop it back on there. I look to see if it's split, because if it is split, then I'll tack it with a little glue. But, all right, so I'm gonna push this up. This one actually has 2 sets of leaves. See, there was a leaf here and then another set of leaves down here. So just push those up. Now I won't put it up right up next to it. I'll leave it about 1 inch or 2 down below it, and that helps fill in and hide. That one has 2. It'll help hide your styrofoam. So there we go. All right, so now that we have this done, you want to get an idea of how tall you want to go. So, we don't want it this tall. That's way too tall. I'm going to come down about here. Now, when I go to cut the stem, I need to remember to leave a little extra because I'm going to fold it over to pick it. So when I do that, then I'll, be able to fold it over. I'm not going to fold it over now because I want this to be kind of all the same height, same form. So what I'm going to do now is go through and cut all the roses about the same height. Okay, so again, it's another assembly line. They don't have to be exact. Once you do this enough, you kind of get the feel for how tall they need to be. Now I will leave 2 a tad bit longer for on the end. So make these 2 longer. Set those off to the side. But the rest I'll have about the same size. So again, we're going to assembly line, folding them over to be able to pick them. Oops. It's handy. I love these little needle nose pliers. Okay, so we're just going to try to find a nice pattern. It doesn't have to be exact, that we're going to evenly put these around. If there are any left over, in fact, yeah. I like to do what is known as triangles. So let's say we'll put this in. Well, actually, let me put a couple in just to make sure I have enough to go around. if I do something on one side, I do it on the exact opposite side. So I put one down here, and now I'm going to put one up here, just like I did on the two ends. So I'm going to go over and put one on that side, and then come on the opposite side and put another one. So what I like to do, if I can, is find a triangle of the 3 flowers. So you got this one, and this one, and put one in the center if it's gonna look right. But it doesn't always work out that way. This actually I can. There's a triangle over here and a triangle over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and, oops. You wanna be careful not to go down too far, because if you do, you'll go down through the foam. And so there's a triangle over here, 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put this in the center of this triangle. Maybe it's hard to see that, but anyway. If you feel like it's sticking out a little too far, instead of snipping it and recutting it, sometimes I'll come in a little further and do it at an angle so it's still, you know, has a little height to it. It just takes too much time to go back and pick. So I have one left, so I can choose to go ahead and put that in and maybe put it towards the front, just keeping in mind that this is going to be the front that's going to, you know, go down over the front of the headstone. So I would rather have the more prettier, bigger flowers in the front of this arrangement, and I can fill in that area in the back with something else as we go along. So the next flower, or the next size down, and it's kind of a main flower, or I might call it a secondary flower, is the daffodils. He really wanted daffodils in here, and we have quite a few. So let me count these out and kind of get a rough idea in my mind, pattern wise, how I'm gonna lay these out. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this one did have, this came off of a bush. Most bushes have 10 or 12. If they get less numbers, usually it's like 7 in a bush. So as far as height goes, I feel like these are the perfect height. They're all the same, about the same height. Maybe there's a couple that's just a tad bit taller. I'm not going to worry about snipping any of these. I'm going to go ahead and bend them over and do our little assembly line and pick them all as I go. Because as I pick them up, I can tell maybe if one's a little taller or shorter than the other, and I have a rough idea. The shorter ones would come up to the top and the longer ones might come out along the sides. So just as you pick it up, you can tell if one's going to be longer or shorter. So if I didn't, you know, take the time to stop and show you guys what I'm doing as I go, I should be able to do this entire arrangement in about 30 minutes or less, if there's no interruptions or things like that. But I like to take the time to show you guys. I do a lot of prep work ahead of time. In fact, I probably, you know, honestly, I would probably snip all of the stems and then twist all the stems and then pick all the stems before I even put it together. That's how assembly line I like to be. I've done it so often that I know roughly the lengths of each of the flowers that I want, and I can adjust them in the arrangement as I go as far as length if I need to. And it's always better, if you're gonna do that, to keep them longer if you're really not sure, because it's easier to cut down and make them shorter than it is to add a stem and tape to it and make it longer. So I'm just going to go through and put these around in different areas, and you can bend them. And let's see if you can find a triangle and put it in the center of a triangle. That would be good. I have a longer one, so I'm going to have this one come down a little bit in the front. So I have another longer one. Put it off to the side here. Give it a little bend. So when I say bend, I like bend the head up, and I might bend the middle a little bit so it kind of has some curve to it. Here's another long one. Put this on the back corner. And they're very forgiving, so you can take them out, replace them. That's the great thing about silks, whereas with fresh flowers, it's a little difference in arranging fresh flowers. I do both here. I do weddings. My specialty is I really like to do specialty sympathy tributes. So if you get a chance and want to go and check out my website, it's www.floralexpressionswithjolene. That's with Jolene, not by Jolene. And click on the gallery, and you'll see a bunch of, it's not nearly all that I have ever created, but you'll see quite a few. Let's see, now both of these were a little too long, so I'm going to shorten both of those. But yeah, you'll see quite a few of the specialty pieces that I do. Now they take quite a bit of time. They're very labor intensive, and I usually require anywhere from 48 to 72 hour notice to make those because they are so labor intensive. So, but it's definitely a passion of mine. I really truly enjoy making those. So, okay. Does that give you a little idea? Now, if you'll notice, some are a little bit lower than others. It is okay to have some flowers in and some out. It just gives a little more depth to the arrangement. So, all right, so that's it for that color. So our next flower is even a little bit smaller flower, and on the stems it's 3 small daisies. So I've already pre-cut all of those, but I am going to go in assembly line and push all the greenery up. So let me get my arrangement out of the way here. And just like I did before, there's 2 leaves, so I'm going to press one all the way up and the other one about 1 inch or 2 below it. So just do that real quick. If you'll have any questions, feel free to put in the comments below, and I will occasionally check back and see if there's any comments and definitely respond to you. Oh, my camera fell a little bit. Let's see. Let me change that a little bit. Okay. So now we're going to assembly line. Let me just do a little measurement here. I think I'm going to take just a little bit off of these. When you go to cut, it's good to find wherever you're going to cut and then hold it with your fingers above so that that piece does not go flying off somewhere or hit somebody in the eye. All right. So while I'm getting this ready, yeah, if y'all have any questions and want to put or comments in the comment box below, I will definitely respond to everyone. Please keep your comments nice. If you don't enjoy or agree with what I'm doing, it is totally okay. But I just ask that you be nice and move on. You don't have to watch. So, or if you have some positive or what I would call constructive criticism, feel free to do that. If you do things a different way and you think that maybe there's something that I'm doing that maybe I could do better or easier to save time, feel free. I'm all about constructive criticism, not hateful criticism. And then also tips and tricks. I think it's great to share. I'm sharing a couple tips and tricks with you guys, and I think it'd be great if you all want to share any with me. I would love to hear them. And I will actually recognize you. If you If you want, you can tell me if it's okay to share your tips with other people and let others know who shared them with me. I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. I would like to say that I am self-taught when it comes to silks, but you know what? I don't think anybody is really ever self-taught, especially if you read books, watch videos, read magazine articles, listen to podcasts. Little things. I have picked up tons of stuff throughout the years. Even though I say I'm self-taught in silks, I haven't formally attended any classes on how to do silks, but I have watched videos and different things like that, or trial and error. So, you know, there's tons of credit to be had everywhere, and I am definitely have learned a lot from a lot of people. So, all right, now we're just going to go through and same thing, just kind of get a nice mixture all around. If you see a hole in a triangle, then just insert this in one of those holes. The more you do this, the easier it becomes, and you get quicker. Quicker, faster, which one's proper to say? Alright, a couple more left. And if you need to, you know, pick it up, look it around, look at it and see, oh, is the white evenly proportioned? And if not, you know, you can, but like for the most part it is. Here's a little area down here. We'll put one down here. Okay, so that's all of the white. So our next and last flower is this, some people call it baby's breath. I actually had a few extra stems left over from another project, so I'm definitely going to use these, and these have already been curled. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more. Sometimes I will take and just pull a lot of the stems outward real quick, and then that gives me just an easier, so I can go through and snip them all. I'm going to show you a trick on these. There's a lot of filler here, so with each stem you can actually, well, this one's not a good example. This has only 2 on it, so we'll leave that one. Let's see if I can find another one that has multiple. Okay, here we go. Here's one. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4 little sets of flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push number 2 up to number 1, and then I'm going to push number 3 down to number 4. So I actually can get 2 insertions out of this. So I'll go about halfway between and snip. Okay. Now the top here where this one was snipped off, I'm going to go ahead and fold that over onto itself really close, and then I'm going to push this flower all the way up to the top. So there you have a separate insertion. Out of 1 stem, now you have 2. So I'll go through, and any stem that has four things like that. If they only have 1, then or 2, I will just leave it. Okay, this one has 4, so again, we'll push number 2 up to 1. There's 1 stem, and then just rotate that up, just so that it doesn't slide off when you push it up. So that's what that's all about. All right, here's another one. And with the filler, you can go down deep. You can have some sticking out. So it's good to get a little depth, a little variation. All right. I think I got one left. So last one, and then I will start picking. And I feel like this arrangement is good for both a man or a woman. So, and you know, the customer, oops, forgot to curl the bottoms. I was busy curling the tops that I was cutting in half, but I didn't curl the bottoms. So we'll do that real quick. But yeah, the customer, I don't believe he told me whether this was for a man or a woman. So let's trim that down a little bit. I think this would be fine for either. And it could be for a couple's headstone where a man and wife are together. I tend to think it's not, because I'm almost positive I heard him say that it was for a standard headstone. So I don't think it's for a double. The Tombstone saddles or the wire mechanisms, they actually make those in several different sizes. There's 8-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch, and 24-inch. In fact, I think I have a couple here I can show you. Yeah, here we go. So this is the smaller 8-inch. I've already put the styrofoam on it. You can see it's definitely smaller. And this is the galvanized metal. Oops. And then this is going to be the 12-inch. So if I put it behind, you can see how it sticks out a little bit further on both sides. And then this, oops, I want to say this might be the 16-inch or 12-inch. So it's a little bit bigger than this one. And then there's one more size. Yeah, so this is the 24-inch. So this is even wider. And I usually use this for the double headstone so that I can get it out a little further. The styrofoam comes in sheets of 2-inch by 12-inch by 36-inch. So when the sheets come in, I actually cut them down to fit whatever tombstone topper that I want. So I actually cut this one to fit the larger headstone. So I just haven't used Dixon pins yet to put them on there, but I pre-measured ahead of time to know what's the maximum number that I can get out of a piece of styrofoam when I'm doing this. So usually when I do this, again, assembly line, and I will buy a pack of 10 tombstone toppers and 2 or 3 sheets of styrofoam, and I will cut the styrofoam and I will get them all ready. And so I have a stack over here of already tombstone toppers that I've already put the styrofoam on. So, and I have different sizes, but I do leave some of the tombstone toppers, excuse me, I do leave some of them without the foam. That's why I was able to pull those out, because I actually on occasion have customers that will come in and want to buy just the form or the tombstone topper, the metal part, and then sometimes they'll want to come in and buy the metal part with the styrofoam. You know, I've heard of other florists that don't want to sell that. I don't know. A sale's a sale. You know, if they don't buy it from you, they're going to go up to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart, wherever, and they're going to, or the local craft store, they're going to buy it anyway. So why not sell it to them? I'm making a little profit on it because, you know, we get them for wholesale. So I just think that's good business and creates good customer service. And I actually had a lady that would come and buy those from me, and then she got to the point where her arthritis kicked in and she just physically could not do her own tombstone toppers anymore, and she would even buy silk bushes from me. But anyway, she just got to the point where she just could not do it anymore, so now I make them for her. So had I turned her away in the beginning and not allow her to buy those supplies from me, she probably wouldn't be back and asking me to actually make them for her now. So yeah. All right, so last one here. So now we're gonna go to town and fill in with all of these. So it's quite a few of these. So, and they're down lower, so it's okay that they are tucked in. Just gives it a little dimension here. Whoops, not two there. And it's okay if there's a hole somewhere, we can go back and fill that up. Remember, we didn't use all of our wisteria bush, so we can add to that. As far as pricing, what I do is when I get my supplies in, so my silks, I will figure up what I would charge to, you know, what I'm going to sell it for. So I do my markup, and then as I pull each bush, so I have the wisteria, I have the bush of daffodils, the bush of roses, the bush of daisies, did I forget anything? Oh, and the baby's breath. So I just quick add up everything that I have in this arrangement to include the baker fern, the piece of styrofoam, and the tombstone topper. Add all that together, and then I add on my labor. So different florists charge different labor. Some people charge 10, 15, 20%, 25, 30. It just, whatever your area and your market, I feel like it's whatever you feel good about in your heart, okay? I feel like I can do them fairly fast. If it took me for a long time and you wanted to figure up your hourly rate, whatever it is you make per hour, or if, let's say, you have employees and maybe they take a long time, maybe they take an hour to make one. Well, what is their hourly rate that you're paying them? And I would probably double that, because you want to make some money, not lose money. It's like you're getting just enough to cover their time, and so I don't know, it just depends. So you put your, whoever is best at silks, put them on silks. If they are better on fresh flowers, put them on fresh flowers. So I actually have a girl that works for me part-time, and she does excellent. I mean, she's probably quicker than me when it comes to flipping out silks. She really can go to town, and she is good about, she has good color, good eye for color combinations. And when I bought the business, I had a lot of just stems of just 2 or 3 of this and 2 or 3 of that, and really wasn't enough to do a nice big arrangement. And she was amazing. She took all these scraps and was able to come up with beautiful headstone topper arrangements. So she really took care of making a bunch of arrangements for me without losing a lot of money, because a lot of people would have just thrown those away. Okay, so you can see this is filling out pretty nicely. Now, I can look in and see white, and I don't like that. So there's 2 things I can do. I can, and I feel like this color, the wisteria, I need a little bit more in there. It's easier to figure up the price when you do the whole bush. So I think I'm going to go ahead and fill it up and do the whole bush. So I really like this greenery, because it has a lot of this greenery on here. So I'm going to stick those in. So let's just go ahead and do it. I'll just cut them all off. Get them all in there. And then I'll figure up the price of the whole thing accordingly. I don't tell others what to price their items at. Different areas. Oh, This wisteria is actually broken, but that's okay. We can use it. It's okay. Nothing goes to waste here. But again, yeah, I don't tell other florists how to price their items. And I'm not going to tell you what I price things at because it may be different in your area. You might be in a big city, you know, New York or something, and they actually charge a whole lot more. So not that their work is any better or any worse, it's just different. I'm sure price of everything is different. So there's a lot of stems on here. These are very thick stems, so I'm kind of choosy about what stems I want to put in my stem jar or my extenders jar. And these really, I don't like them, so I'm gonna put it away. My shop, my rules, right? So, all right, with these, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these in half like I did before, and then we'll get 2 insertions out of these. So this is great to do that. Let's see. Or, let's see, I might, you know what, I might put a couple more up front, just lapping over out of it. 1 in the front and 1 in the back. So the rest of these we will just pick as is and insert. So yeah, this is gonna be great. Here is, I don't know where this came from. Oh, it came off of one of the rose stems. So I'm just gonna pick it and insert it in there somewhere where I see white showing through, so that as I visually see now, I don't see that white. So yeah, don't throw any of that stuff away. So this here, I'm gonna hold it up and see visually what's gonna look good, like coming forward out of the, oh, you know what? This is the back. How do I know that? Because remember in the beginning I put the purple rose up front and there wasn't one in the back, so yeah, this has more purple roses up front. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put some extra wisteria falling down out of the front here. Give it a little bit more movement and play. Yeah, I will put one in the back. I could have just done that a while ago, but I just noticed that right off the bat. So I have one in the middle. I think I'm gonna come off this side. And then I have a couple more of these pieces that I cut. So we'll insert those just kind of equally around. Which one has a little more flow? This one has a little more flow. Oh, here's a little tip for you. So if I want to get 1 more inch of height out of this, so if I go to stick this in, oh, it's tucked in a little bit, I want it to come out just a little more, I can actually put 1 pick onto a pick. So let me show you that this is just 1 pick, okay? So now I'm gonna add another pick onto the end of it, and you can see it's actually 2 picks. I don't know if that's too fuzzy for you, but that's given me a little extra height. So when I put it in now I wouldn't go past 1 extra pick because it's going to lose its stability and it's not going to hold as well. So you don't want it to be too wobbly. Put this down under here. Oh, actually, I'm going to put a little length onto that so it sticks out just a little further. Have that hang down a little bit. Okay, so what I have left is all of these greens. So we're gonna assembly line and pick them all. Oops. And this will definitely help cover the white foam in there. I'm going to try to do some more videos on, you know, different types of silks. I'm going to focus on silks for a while, but I will do some fresh. In the comments, let me know, what would you like to see? What would you like to learn how to make or create out of silks or fresh? I'm going to do a series of silks right now, but I will get to fresh. Alright, so all these are picked. So I'm just going to go through, and wherever I see foam or kind of an open area, I'm just going to fill that in. And if you look at something, you're like, oh, I don't like that. You know, change it, pull it out, fix it, it's okay. There is no hard and fast set rules here. You gotta enjoy what you're doing, have fun with it. If this is stressing you out, then this probably ain't your thing. I find this relaxing, and I really enjoy when a customer comes in and they, oh, so especially if it exceeds their expectation, and that's usually my goal, is to not meet their expectation but try to exceed it, and do a little something extra. So he didn't know that I was going to put these purple roses in. Now if he comes here and he's like, oh, I really don't like those roses, not a problem. We can pull those out and pop something else in there that he might like a little better. Maybe he'd rather have white roses, or maybe he'd rather have tulips, because it is kind of supposed to be a springy arrangement. But I was trying to go with the color palette that was springy and fresh. So in my mind, I feel like the light purple is springy and fresh. So, but he might have different thoughts, and that is okay. You know, I had a conversation just yesterday with my sister, and we were talking about flowers and different what people like. And so she was actually in my shop yesterday going around, and I could tell there was things she didn't like. And I'll be honest, there's things in my shop that I don't like. I didn't make them. Some of them, you know, I have part-timers, but it's okay. What I'm learning is not everybody likes the same things, and that is okay, because there have been so many times when there's been an arrangement and I just thought, ugh, that is awful. And lo and behold, somebody comes in and buys it. So everybody has different tastes. So if it stays out here for quite a while and no one buys it, I will pull it down and adjust it, pull some stuff out, add some stuff to where I think I like it, and it'll sell. So I do not have anything out here in the shop that has been here for more than 6 months. If it's here for 3 to 4 months, I will change it, and lo and behold, it sells. So it's amazing. So I feel like this is pretty good. So anyway, what do you guys think? So this is flopping down, but when I lay it over, it's gonna be, so this is the front. And you see we have some wisteria hanging down, so that'll look nice hanging over the headstone. I think he'll appreciate that. All right, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or if you have any comments, leave them in the comments. And thank you for being here today. Thanks so much. Bye. All right, and these are the 2 long ones, so I'll kind of keep those to the side so I know which ones they are. Oops. All right. That's the long one, and that's the long one. So we'll keep those over here. And I just poked myself. So it's always good to keep some Band-Aids on hand. I rarely ever cut this finger, or cut fingers on this side, but I'll just keep a box of Band-Aids handy. There we go. My husband tells me I need to get those wire mesh protection gloves like they use when they use knives to cut meat or something like that. But, a little cut here and there, no big deal. Okay, so I get all these picked, and then we will start inserting our main flower. Even though this is not the main flower he has in mind for this order, the main flower that he wants are the yellow daffodils and the wisteria. But as far as the types of flowers that we're putting in here, the larger flower is considered the main flower. So I'm going to take the two longer ones and go ahead and put those on the very end to give us our length. Oops, must have hit a Dixon pin again. Alright, you can kind of curve them upwards to face the sun. And then we'll put our, I like to, let's see which one looks the best. Whichever one has the best shape, nice and round, I like to put that in the very center top. Yeah, they're not, they're all pretty good. So anyway, so this will give us our height. Whoops. There we go. So that's our height. And then I like to count how many do we have left. So 2, 4, 6, 7. So as we put these around, you know, it is okay to do an even number because 7, 8, 9, 10. This is 10 of them. Normally there's 12 on a bush, so I did have 2 that the heads popped off and I don't know where they're at. So it could have been in travel. It could have been when they were purchased. I will tell you, I like, let me show you a little tip. So I take the greenery off of these stems. I don't throw anything away. So I take the greenery off. I can pick that and put that in. I'll just set it to the side right now. But see these 2 long stems? I like to call these extenders, and I save these. I actually have a little vase here that I keep all these extenders in. So if I get a short stem of something and I need to make it a little longer, then I will take the extender, and I'll just show you an example here. Let's just use this leaf. Okay, if I pick that, that's going to be way down inside, and maybe I want this pretty leaf to be a little taller. That might be too big of an extender, but let's just say I'll use an extender like so. I told you earlier that I keep a roll of tape, floral tape with me, so I will just roll that on there a little bit, and now I have a longer stem, so I can just pick it and put it somewhere in the arrangement, wherever you want it to be. So these are very handy. I even will use these for if I'm going to put a bird or a butterfly into an arrangement and it has a short stem and I want the butterfly to be coming out. These are great to have.